So today on the show, we're having a quick conversation around the top questions I feel like we get. We're in the middle of recording a live challenge right now.
Mhm.
That's when we're recording this podcast. It'll come out a few weeks after. But I feel like it's so fresh, top of mind right now. Like
Mhm.
all the questions that come up during a live challenge where we're teaching people how to create an Amazon business, it seems to be the same questions every time. So we'd love to make a podcast around this
Mhm.
because you may have similar questions around selling products on Amazon. At this point in 2024, you've likely heard of someone selling on Amazon. You likely
Mhm.
have seen ads. It's not a new thing. And so there's just a lot of questions around it. And so in this podcast, we're just going to dialogue about a handful of those popular questions.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me is that Amazon already has customers. And when you're a business, you need customers to have a profit, to actually make money, to create impact. And Amazon has the customers, they have the traffic, they have people going to Amazon.com and wanting to buy product. And so, if you can understand how Amazon works and get a product on the shelf, is what we say, like, it's a win-win-win versus like starting a business where you have to learn about email marketing or Facebook ads or create an Instagram account and grow a following and all of those things like some of our students eventually do, but it's not something that you are right out the get required to do. And I think that's a big area for like, if you want to say small businesses or just a business in general, is the customers. And Amazon already has the customers. They have a trusted brand where people are actually paying like Prime subscribers. I don't know if there's any listeners right now that you are a paid subscriber to Amazon and they already have those customers that are willing to buy from you. So I think that's a huge thing right there. Another, I think, big draw is that they handle all the customer service, all the packing, all the shipping. I know for me, when we got into Amazon ourselves, you had started this like fidget toy
Mhm.
selling this fidget toy. We decided one year we were going to learn how to sell a product. We were doing Kickstarter videos and helping other companies raise thousands of dollars. And it just got our eyes open to like, let's set this year, let's have this year's intention to be launch a product. And you did. And I found it was like really fun and packing up these, shipping these orders. Like it was really cool in the beginning. And then slowly after time, I was like, there's just boxes in our garage of product that I don't want. Like, I want these to be going out. I don't want my garage to be filling up with stuff and every night being like the packing and shipping station on our dining room table. And I loved that about Amazon. To me, that was so freeing. And before I even knew very much about it, that was a huge selling point for me because I didn't want boxes in my garage. And I think that's a big thing right now is like, I think there's a lot of people that want to start a physical products thing, but they've been doing it all themselves or they think that's the only way. And I love that about Amazon. So for me, in the early days before I knew all of the data, before I think you had kind of just dove into it yourself. I love that aspect of having my garage free of space.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like if you're looking for a business opportunity, one, it's really smart to partner with something that's already working. Like that'd be
Yeah.
like, instead of digging your own river, you could just hop on the
Hmm.
Amazon River, right?
Yeah.
That's already flowing. It just like saves you years. I mean, I feel like every business we've started, like we've started a lot of businesses and run a lot of businesses.
Hmm.
Like they take good 2, 3 years to really
Yeah.
like get to the swing of things. I feel like the Amazon, you're already hopping into something that's already there and working. There's trust. So there's
Hmm.
just that momentum. And then the second thing, like you mentioned, leverage, like having
Hmm.
that like more passive style to the business where
Yeah.
it's scalable, but it doesn't require more of your hours when it scales, Like I think that's what drew us towards Amazon. So I don't know, I think the next question after we're like, hey, okay, I'm interested in Amazon.
Hmm.
I think the other thing that gets people interested in Amazon is seeing how much money is flowing through Amazon. I
Hmm.
think that is a very interesting fact. And we actually have this software we show in the challenge. I mean, it's just crazy. Like you can pull up any random product like on Amazon and then click the software and see how much sales they're doing on this product. And like when you see these numbers, it just blows your mind. The most random things that are selling 50,000, 75,000,
Hmm.
$100,000 a month, sometimes millions of dollars a month in a single product on Amazon. And when you see a full page of those products, like, when you search on Amazon, there's a whole page of products. Like you
Hmm.
see every single product on that page selling these high numbers, like that just blows your mind when you're like, man, this is a niche product. and every single person on this page is selling that number, like, it just
Mm,
makes your mind go, "Whoa," like, Amazon is so much bigger than I thought. Like, I think the
mhm.
stat is over 50% of all online sales happen on Amazon right now, and, like, that is, like, unfathomable, like, the size of this thing. And so, once you're like, "Yes, okay, I need to figure out how to get my piece of the Amazon pie," I think the next biggest question that probably comes is like, "Well, I'm not an inventor. I don't have any product ideas, so this must not be for me."
Yeah. And I would say that's awesome that you don't have any product ideas right now, because I would say sometimes when people come through our program and they think they have a product, oftentimes, based off of the product qualifier like sheet that we have people go through, that product oftentimes might not be the best idea because we back everything on data.
Mhm.
Data, the numbers, like you have to get into that. And I think it's actually a really good thing if you don't have any ideas to the beginning. I'm not to say you can't,
Yeah,
but if you don't have any, perfect. Like most of the people that come through our
yeah.
challenge, our program, started out selling on Amazon. Even like us, some of the products that we launched, like we didn't think of those. We went off of the data. And I think that's so important. Like you have to understand your numbers. All business is risk, but what if you can minimize that risk and take calculated risk? And you can do that with the software and specifically on Amazon because it
Yeah.
has years and years of data of what the customer is wanting.
Yeah, I feel like the best analogy we give in the challenge is Amazon's like a giant grocery store. And when you walk into
Mhm.
a grocery store, when you want to find the eggs, you look at the top, unless you're really familiar with the grocery store, you look at the aisles, right? And you look for the
Yeah.
one that says eggs. In Amazon, what you do when you go there virtually shopping on your phone or your computer is you type in the bar, right? What you want, eggs. And then it takes you to the egg aisle. I know you're probably not
Mhm.
buying eggs on Amazon, but like I'm just using that as an example.
Mhm.
Those search terms, like what you're searching, we call those digital aisles on Amazon.
Mhm.
And so what we look for is aisles where there's a lot of foot traffic. We actually have software that shows us, wow, this aisle is being
Mhm.
searched 100,000 times a month, right? And that's a lot of people. Now, if we see 100,000 people going down this aisle every month and there's not great eggs on the shelf, okay, I'm just keep rolling with that product idea. Um, we can just put a good egg on the shelf and it's going to sell. That's like simply in the most simple way, the Rainmaker
Mhm.
method. Now, what Chelsea's saying is sometimes people will come to us with these ideas that don't fit on a shelf, right? It's like
Mhm.
if you make up this brand new invention, you're like, this is egg pizza, right? Like, what aisle do you put that on? Like, if you put it on the egg aisle, those people don't want it. Like, they wanted eggs.
Mhm.
If you put it on the pizza aisle, those people don't want it. They're looking for pizzas, right? Now, I'm using food analogies. We don't recommend selling food on Amazon. I'm just using that as like you're kind of like getting the picture for why we say like if
Mhm.
you have no product ideas, it's actually probably a good thing. And once you go through our training and you learn how to use the software to identify these aisles, and then
Mhm.
we look for metrics that show us that the aisle's a good fit, meaning like the products are not great quality, there's low stars, there's room for innovation.
Mhm.
That's when we go, wow, if we just put a really high quality product on this shelf, and we find a way to manufacture that and get it shipped over to Amazon, which we'll talk about that in a little bit here. Um, then like it's going to get seen by these 100,000 people who are
Mhm.
walking down this aisle every month and it's going to sell because it's better than the rest. That
Mhm.
is like the simplest explanation of the Rainmaker method and what we've
Mhm.
done to, I mean, right now, every 14 days, we have a new family crossing six figures in our community. Like this thing worked. We've taken a lot of people through this process, but it really is coming back to that. Like it's based on data. And that's how we figure out what products to sell. We're not inventors. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're looking for what people already want, or we're making it better. We're putting that on Amazon.
Yeah, and just to give you an example, I loved this story. One of our Rainmaker students, she um was just for the longest time before she even joined Rainmakers, one of her product that she is now launching and has other products on Amazon, but the very first
Yeah.
product that she started with was actually something that she used every single day with one of her kids. And every single day she would use this product. They loved it. But I think she always thought like, how could we make this better? Like, how could what if we just added this little piece here and did this? And she joined Rainmakers, and as she went through product research, she ended up again running the numbers on this product and innovated on it and made it better. And she, in the first 12 months, of her business did over $1 million in sales. And she has a couple other products in there, but that's just like the power of Amazon. So I think you can like think creatively too about how you can like innovate and make things better for the marketplace.
Okay. I feel like the next question that comes out a lot is
Mm,
money. Okay. So you're like,
yes.
how much money does this cost? Right.
Yeah.
And in our challenge, we kind of have this funny moment where we're kind of training, like, I bet you guys are wondering how much money this costs.
Yeah.
And I say the number is like, if you want to get into this business, it's $150,000 to it was like, I give them a range. It's like 150 to
And
$250,000.
then you pause.
And I pause, dramatic pause.
Yeah.
And then I say, oh, sorry, just kidding. That's how much it costs to franchise a Subway.
Mm.
And, most people who franchise a Subway expect a 7% return
Mhm.
and they don't expect to see money for like 3 to 5 years.
Mhm.
So like it kind of puts into perspective because I think sometimes when they hear how much it takes to get started with Amazon, it could freak them out. But like when it's relative to like some of these other traditional business models that people are going after, starting a laundromat, right? You're in like 50K plus, starting a gym, you're in 50K plus, even like being a realtor, like there's this expenses that go into these things. Like all business takes expense. If someone's trying
Mhm.
to sell you something that's completely free, like there's no money into this thing, it's probably a scam. Okay.
Mhm.
There is a couple things out there that you can do, but like at
The
the end of the
leverage
day,
on it isn't
yeah,
gonna
you
be as
don't have the
much.
leverage
Yeah.
and you don't have the ownership, and that's what Amazon does. And so, the number that we like to give people is 10 to 20K. 10 to
Mhm.
20K is a really good starting ballpark. Now, that being said, I even saw in the comments today, someone was like, I started with, I think she said $1,000 and I grew that to $30,000 within the first year. So
Mhm.
like you start with less, you're probably not going to make as much like that $1 million story,
Mhm.
but you started with a lot more, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, that's an exceptional story, but like 1,000 to 30,000, that's pretty sweet.
Mhm.
I know I've seen someone start at 800 and go to 100,000
Mhm.
within a year and a half. But I would say if you want to go fast and have higher quality products, 10 to 20,000 is a really good like starting range for like business expenses when it comes to like getting your business set up, buying inventory, getting it on Amazon, and really getting rolling quickly. So, that's a number. If you just want to have a number in your head, there you go. You got a number. But again, I think the biggest thing that you've probably heard us train on in this podcast is the how can I mindset. Because even for some of you, that number just made it feel like this opportunity was not for you, or like,
Mhm.
oh, I can't do this. I can't is sometimes our default, but we really train on like a how can I mindset.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Let's talk a little bit about ways we've seen people do it with less.
So if you're hitting those money walls, like Steven said, we just want to share with you stories about how even some of our students have been creative about how to get this business up and running. So one of our students that comes to mind is he joined our program, really wanted to get started with things, but didn't have the capital to go and invest in a product. So he just went to his dad. He went through the challenge and found the data, understood it, and just said, hey, dad, would you be willing to invest in my product? So his dad became an investment partner in that. And of course, he made back the money, paid his dad back. That's one creative way you can do it. Another way is you could go through this program and like launch a business for somebody else and split the profit with them. Just say, hey, I will be sort of the get it done girl or the get it done guy, actually learning the system, running it. But there's, lots of people out there that have money that want to invest in businesses. They want to invest in something that's going to give them
Mhm.
a good return. They want to diversify their income without maybe jumping into buying an entire home or doing different ways that you can invest. And
Yeah.
so that's another creative ways you could come to someone who has money, who wants to invest, wants to see a return, and just say, hey, I will actually build this business. All you have to do is just give me a little bit of money and then we'll split the profits. I think that's another creative
Yeah.
way.
You heard one of our guests on this podcast talks about credit stacking,
Hmm.
and that's another method. We have had a lot of rainmakers use credit, and you got to be wise with it. But looking for a 0% APR, so no interest, long term, like 12 to 24 month term credit card.
Hmm.
That's like a high limit if you have good credit. That's another way to get started by using someone else's money to get started to get this thing rolling and then pay it off. So I would say, whatever your budget is, one thing we talked about today is you don't want to overextend your finances by putting it all in. Like if
Hmm.
let's say you have 20K, let's just throw 20K out there as a number. You don't want to buy 20K of inventory, right?
Hmm.
Like a good rule of thumb we talk about this in our mastermind program, is what we call the 2.5x rule. This came from a guy named Kevin King. He is like the trainer to the trainers in the Amazon world. And you basically take your budget, let's say it's 20K, and divide it by 2.5. And
Mhm.
so 20K divided by 2.5 is $8,000. So that means you're going to only want to put 8,000 into inventory. And the reason you do this is e-commerce is a pretty capital heavy business when you're successful, right? Like, so you say you launch your product on Amazon, it's working really well and it's selling, right? And the reason you don't want to do it is like, I mean, e-commerce is a capital heavy business. When you're really winning with Amazon, you order, let's say you spend all 20K on your inventory and now that inventory is selling like hotcakes and you need to restock your inventory and you don't have
Mhm.
any capital because you spent it all. So the 2.5x rule protects you from that by only spending, a portion of what you have dedicated to the business. And then you have enough to reorder that product when it's selling, which is really awesome to keep that momentum going, which is how this thing really snowballs quickly.
As entrepreneurs and parents, convenience is key. But that doesn't mean you should have to sacrifice quality. For years, we nerded out on coffee, trying to get the highest quality, but that takes a lot of time, weighing the beans, getting the right grind, getting your water to the perfect temperature. And so when we had kids, we kind of shifted to the pod system, right? And it was a major downgrade. That was until we found X Bloom.
X Bloom works with the best roasters around the country, and their machine truly brings the specialty coffee shop experience to your home. If you love a good pour over, I highly recommend you check this out. You can elevate your coffee drinking experience while keeping up with your kids. If you're ready to transform your mornings, head to rainmakerfamily.com/deals to get started. That's rainmakerfamily.com/deals. One thing that now as an entrepreneur just makes me shake my head is just this pressure on high school students and really even grades below that to go to college. And I think it's one of the things that get talked about your junior and senior year, at least in the States, everywhere. It's like, what do you want to be where you grow up? What college you're going to? What is your degree? And tell me more about that. And there's like this pressure to go to school, which is like paying 20, 30, 50, 60. I mean, it goes on and on depending on what higher education place you go to. This pressure to like go to school and you just get a loan, you just do it. Like most parents are not forking out like cash to pay for their students. They're like getting loans and getting all of that. And that's just become this common thing. And then
Yeah.
on top of that, it's like you go to school and you're not even promised a job afterwards. You're just hopeful that you'll be able to pay off of this lengthy tuition. And I just think it's funny that in entrepreneurship, sometimes people question going into business when they have to put down a little bit amount of money that is like a fraction of what it even costs for them to go to school. And they're not even like promised the outcome that you would with a business like Amazon. And so I think now that I've been out of college for a while now, I'm just like, wow, like it makes me want to like run down to like the local school here and just be like, become an entrepreneur, drop out. Just kidding. I mean, like, don't drop out. But I
It's
learned
not
some
for everyone,
valuable things. Yeah, I
but
learned
it's
some
true.
valuable skills in college I'm very grateful for. But it is true that society has made it like okay to borrow such huge amounts of money like it's normal. It's been normalized, but yet you're not promised a job. But then when you're asked to put down money for a course or for a program or mentorship that is going to give you more leverage in your life, give you more finances, people are hesitant. So it's just like
Yeah.
that, I think just needs to be flipped. But beyond that, on the topic of money, since we are talking about that, I feel like people hear these big numbers like, wow, somebody made an extra six figures, $1 million within the first 12 months. That's incredible. But of course, people want to know like what is top line versus what is the profit margin. So just break that down of what we talk about
Yeah.
in Rainmakers.
Yeah, like, so everyone's numbers are different,
Yeah.
but industry standard on Amazon, so, like, standard, like, where they've done studies of thousands and thousands of sellers, 15 to 20% is typically where it lands, when it comes to, like, actual profit margin after all your business expenses. So, really healthy profit margins for a business like this, beats the stock market all day, beats real estate a lot of times. Like, so, but we see, in our group, we just had someone share her story, like 25% margins on her product after all her expenses. But yeah, I would say it usually is landing somewhere between that 15 and 25% after everything. The types of products we look at, we're always looking for 35 to 55% margins,
Hmm.
but that's like padding it so that even after other expenses that go into the business, you're still bringing home a healthy like 20%, right? That allows you to really grow the thing faster, put more money back in the business while also paying yourself. And it's a healthy profit margin business. So anytime you're seeing big numbers on Amazon, you could probably just throw that number on there. What's 20% of that, right? So, $1 million top line is 200,000, on the bottom. I don't know her specific profit margins, but we've seen products with higher profit margins too. But if you just want to be conservative, throw 20% on there, and yeah, that'll get you your number.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if you want to just I feel like we could dive into that a little bit more because even I feel like people are like, "Whoa, she only made an extra 200,000 off of $1 million in sales. Like, where did that other money go?" Like, that's really healthy for
Oh yeah,
businesses. So I don't know if you could like talk about that a little bit
well,
because I think I've even seen people get like, "Oh, that's like not enough" or whatever, and
yeah.
it's just like, well, if you actually look into anything, like
Well,
that
I mean,
is
okay,
very
so this is
healthy.
how we never thought up until I moved on. But the crazy part, I mean, I saw this graph recently. This guy came in who did a whole budgeting lesson.
Mm,
And he showed this graph of like, here's the money you're making, here's the profit you're making, and here's the enterprise value you're building of the
yeah,
business. And I mean, the crazy part is, so Corinne is her name, who shared that $1 million testimonial. She, let's say, made 200,000 on the low end. Let's say she made 200,000 cash profit for a business that
that's
probably takes her
amazing.
an hour or 2 to run
Yeah.
every single week. Like, that's insane, first of all. But the enterprise value of what she
Mm,
built, that means the value of the business, okay? If you're
mhm.
doing top line $1 million in sales, at minimum in e-commerce business, you'd be able to sell for 1x your top line trailing 12-month revenue. So if she made $1 million over the last 12 months, she could at minimum sell that business for $1 million.
That's
Okay. So
amazing.
not only does she get paid now, but she gets paid in the future when she sells that brand. Right.
Mhm,
So we see more likely 2 to 6x multiples for e-commerce brands, especially leveraged e-commerce brands, like on Amazon that have email lists and things like that. And so, like, I mean, imagine making $200,000 a year profit, but then selling the business for $2 million a couple years. I mean, that's an exceptional story. Okay. So we don't want to like make you think, oh, I'm going to make $1 million. But she hit that number.
but
Like,
you
do you remember
could.
how long it took her? It was like 6 or 7 months or something like that.
I don't know what the
It
exact sort of
was
scale.
like, that was a kind of like a mind blowing story. We don't see that happen very often in Rainmakers. 6 figures, low 6 figures within the first year. That's a lot more common. We've had like, I think, in the last year, probably 4 people hit like 7 figure levels like that. So it's an exceptional story, but like, just think about like the enterprise value of what you're building. Amazon businesses, you should build it to sell. Like, I'm very bullish on Amazon. I don't think Amazon's going away. I think they're just going to continue to expand.
Mhm,
But it is good to like, hey, maybe you want to build this thing for 2, 3 years, sell it, get a big legacy payment for your
mhm.
family. Like that $2 million. I mean, life changing money. And then if you like it, just do it again,
Yeah.
right? That reduces your risk. Instead of saying, I'm going to build this forever, build it to a place where you feel good about selling it, sell it, let it go, get a huge payout, start investing that money so it grows for years to come, and then do it again. You already did it, just do it again, right?
Mhm.
And so that's the playbook. We like to take people on really like a 2 to 4 year journey in our Rainmaker world where we take them on that whole process.
So I know we covered a lot of different questions about products and Amazon and a lot of different things about money even, and that probably left you a little bit on a cliffhanger. You probably have more questions about how do you source them and what's the software that you've been talking about, Chelsea and Steven. And I just want to encourage you, if you have more questions or if this is sparking something in you that you're like, I need to find out more, I really want to encourage you to go to therainmakerchallenge.com and take our family freedom challenge. We go in depth on what we talked about here and so much more. So I want to encourage you, go take the challenge and dive in and see if this is the type of opportunity that you and your family have been looking for. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. If you're not a part of our mastermind yet, I want to say I think you're missing out. Our heart here at Rainmaker is to create total abundance for you. That's why we're offering a free one-on-one family freedom design session for you, our faithful listener.
Yeah, if you want to hop on a call with our team, see if it's a good fit to build a business that creates time freedom for you, financial abundance, and helps you leave that thriving family legacy. That's what we're all about in our
Mm.
mastermind. You can grab a time on our team's calendar at rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind. Again, that's rainmakerfamily.com/mastermind.